Okay, YouTubers, this is Joe from ArtAlienTV, another game of interplanetary ice spy going on here, back to Mars, back to Gale Crater, and today, got a really interesting one for you. This is from Sol 1877, and we have this set of images here. One of the most interesting sets of images we've had in quite some time, and it's almost as if someone at NASA or JPL has actually let something slip through here. And I was actually saying to having a chat with one of my subscribers the other day, saying we haven't had much recently, and there's been very few finds in this area. And I said I'm hoping very soon that someone at JPL will throw us a bone. Well, they've thrown us a bone here, and I'm sure you will agree with me when you see what it is. And before I start, I must give some credit here where credit's due, as I always do, to Neville Thompson for compiling this Gigapan. Have we got the Gigapan here? Yeah, there's a little Gigapan of 1877 here, and he's already found what looks like it may be the most important thing in this set of images already, which looks to be some graffiti. Now, you can even see it. Let me click on that. He's already taken a clip, and he's already published this on Facebook, on Martian Genesis, so you can check it out there. There will be a link to this below in the description, as there will with everything else. And it does look like writing. Now, it's not particularly clear, but it's clear enough. And all you have to do is enhance the contrast, really, and it kind of pops out. And some of these letters, they do look like letters. Some of them look very large. Well, I don't know exactly how big these are, but I would say these are very large letters. They're not small. I'd say they're somewhere between 5 and 10 feet, possibly higher. I have asked Neville how tall he thinks they are. I haven't had a reply yet, but I'm hoping by the time the video goes out, I will have a more accurate measurement, because he's very good at this stuff. So I'll probably speak to him later about it, and he should give us a better idea. But they are large. These are not small letters. These are big, okay? This is quite a long way off. It's very deceptive. Let's have a look at the Gigapan whilst we're here. There's the letters near this kind of part of the mountain there, which is kind of sticking up. There's a pointy bit there. I'll give you a general context. This isn't a huge Gigapan, but it's very interesting. What it lacks in size, it well makes up for in interesting details. And we also have this rather strange structure here. Now, I've been looking at this thing for a while now, and I've been waiting for some closer images of it. I've been taking clips and trying to enhance it, but a lot of them were from much further back, and you couldn't really see, and it's almost like a lot of this stuff is obscured for some reason. I'll show you what I mean in a minute. But this was really interesting, and this ridge line is actually really cool. And you can see here what looks like some kind of message or something scrawled onto the side of this mountainside, and in very large letters, somewhere between 5 and 10 feet, possibly 15 feet. I don't actually know. You've got some showing the ridge at the back there from further back, and then the camera kind of zooms in, the mass cam, and we've got these black and white images of the mountain. Without further ado, I'll show you what's in the folder, because there's quite a lot to get through here. I'm going to try and keep this short if I can. I'm just going to flick through some of these images first. There, this is the back of the ridge there. Now, this is taken, I don't know whether this is zoomed in or not, but this looks quite a long way off. I would say that top of that ridge there is about 1 kilometre. The bottom of the ridge is probably a bit less. I don't know exactly, but it's around 1 kilometre's distance, possibly a bit more. Okay, and you've got these what look like buildings up on top of the ridge here, which I've been looking at for many years now. But there's no great detail to be seen here because it hasn't zoomed right in. But these do look like buildings up here, ruined buildings, and there are many of them on Mount Sharp, as I have shown in many other videos. So I will have links to some of the things I'm mentioning in this video at the end of this video. On the cards, you can click on the cards at the end and it will take you to the relevant stuff, like about Mars buildings and writing and stuff like that on Mars, and graffiti, that kind of thing. And I always do that now. I always try and put the relevant stuff in it right at the end for you, so you can click on it without having to search through my channel for ages to find it. I'll put the relevant stuff in. And you've got all these buttes and mounds and stuff here, butts, whatever they're called. These are butts. Yeah, see more butts, yeah. And these strange mounds which no one has really given, NASA anyway, an adequate explanation for. They're all over the place, these strange mounds. And I don't think they're all completely natural. And a lot of these butts here, they all seem to have very flat tops to them and are in kind of rows, long straight lines, as I said in a previous video, in many previous videos. They're all over the place. But this did catch my attention the other day, but I thought hopefully the rover will get a bit closer to this. We've got this strange sort of ramp here, coming up here, with these, what look like ruts in the ramp, like you might see places like Malta, where they've got these kind of tracks going into the sea, like that kind of thing. I don't know if any of you have ever been to Malta, but I have, and lots of places in the Mediterranean. I've seen lots of ancient cultures there, but do bear in mind that this was a lake area, so this could be a landing area for boats or something like that. But I'm not so sure, because when you see it at this resolution, you really can't tell what's going on. You can tell there's something interesting here. These cracks or lines do look rather interesting, but when you see it closer up, it doesn't look that anomalous. Let me show you some close-ups. Now these are taken with the Ken cam and a really quite good resolution, and let me show you that part of the ridge there where these cracks are. Let me just flick through. Here we have it. Not so sure now. When you actually see them closer up, they don't look that unnatural. I mean, it could have been a glacier here or something that slid down and caused this kind of ramp to appear, and water erosion and wind erosion, of course. But here we have the writing. Now I'm going to flick through. Now I've taken a clip from one of these images. Now I think it's one of these here. I think it's this one. Is it this one or that one? I think it's that one. Okay. Now it doesn't look very clear in the raw image. It looks almost like it's been ghosted out here. It's very blurry, and there's not very much definition in the image. I don't know what they've done to it, but they've taken lots of images of this ridge, and some of them are darker, like this one, and some of them are lighter, like that one. So they've been studying it quite closely, and they're obviously interested in what there is to see here. And they wouldn't do that unless they thought there was something worth looking at. They wouldn't take this many pictures of the same area unless there was something there. So let's look at the raw clip I've got here. This is a raw clip. Nothing done to this at all, just enlarged, and you can see these letters. Now, of course, when you get in really close, it actually doesn't look that sharp, because these are big letters, if they are letters, and it's not obvious what it says, because it's probably some kind of writing we don't really understand, although some of them do look very similar to English lettering, like you get in English, and we got like an L and possibly an O and an H and a bit like an N or a V there, and like another 0 or O and a E and a looks like an I or something there, and a very clear J and another letter there. Can't really quite work that one out. A bit like a V with a bent bit there. Don't know. I mean, it's hard to tell, because what you've got here is not a perfectly flat surface. So these letters are kind of scrawled on an uneven edge of this kind of rocky surface here, and some of this detail is actual contouring of the rock and not actual lettering. So it's pretty hard to say exactly what is lettering and what is actual contouring, but when you enhance it, it does get a bit better. All you have to do really is enhance the contrast, like I've done here, and keep pushing that contrast, and it really does help if you sit back from the image. Like I always say with these things, we get too close, it just gets blurred. Is that any better? I've done it in negative there to show that one's probably the clearest, and the one here on the end, that's like a J and a W almost there, my initials. Yeah. So who knows what it actually says? It may not say anything at all. It may be complete gibberish. It may be a number of things written one thing, and then someone could have scrawled over it and then altered it, like you get when you see graffiti on a bus shelter or something like that. You know, you often see someone write something and then someone else scrawls up something else over it, and it doesn't make a lot of sense, and you get kind of overlapping letters. So who knows? Who knows? But these are very large and look kind of like they're carved into the rock rather than sprayed on there with a spray can. They look like they're actually carved into it. But when you're looking at a black and white image, it's hard to say. If we had an image of this in colour, we might be able to determine that this is actually sprayed on or painted on even. But it's impossible to say for sure when it's only a black and white image. And that kind of looks better to me, in a sort of brownish tint there. But some of it does look really clear. But when you over-process it, of course, it kind of breaks up a bit, like I've done there. And in fact, it does help if you kind of look at it from this kind of distance, I think. Let's just zoom in a little bit and see if that makes any more sense. I think the actual word starts over here, like a little letter there and another one there, like an E or something. There's another sort of I or very, very odd. Now, I'm not saying I know what this says, and I can't possibly say what it says because it's probably in some kind of weird Martian language. There's another J here, actually. There's another one there. A bit fainter, but there's two J's. And there's sort of an E there. And well, what I'm saying is basically it's fairly pointless to try and work out what it actually says because, of course, it may be in a language that we have no idea of. And you may ask why they look like the sort of letters we have in a standard alphabet on Earth. Well, I don't know, but I do have other examples of lettering on Mars to show you, and some of it does look like English lettering or Western style alphabet at least. I can't remember the name of the alphabet now. There's a certain name for it, I can't remember. So there we have it. Let me find up here. There was also this. I'll show you this quickly because this is a rather strange mound I've been looking at for a while now, and it looks very vague here. But this was interesting to me because it's kind of got this weird kind of line separating it here, and it's got, when you darken it up, you can see it better. If you look carefully, it's got like a little pipe going across, joining this part to this part, like a little pipe which goes in there. I don't know if you can see that. Now this is a pretty choppy image, but you pump up the contrast and often these things pop out. But I thought that was interesting. This may well be natural, but to me there's something very odd about this mound, and I'll see if I can do a bit more to that and put some more clips in at the end. It just looks a bit artificial to me, the way this thing kind of comes out. And in fact, if you see it in the raw clip, which was not this one. Oh yes, there it is. Right. Now there's different versions of that. This is the slightly darker one. We took 3 shots of the same area, and this one's much brighter. So you can see it here. Let me zoom into that. It's got this weird structure there, and this thing kind of comes out, and it's joined, and you can actually see that little pipe thing going across. Really odd. So, don't know what that is. May well turn out to be completely natural, but to me it looks rather strange. And I don't think all these things are completely natural. I think some of these things may be hollowed out, and I think there may be something inside some of them. I couldn't tell you what, because I haven't been inside any of them. So, there we have it. So, I'll put clips of a lot of this in at the end, so you can have a proper look and freeze frame a lot of this and have a proper look at some of this stuff. Let's look at the writing again. Let's go back a bit there. I'll flick through again. I don't know whether that's clearer or that's clearer. It's a bit like doing an eye test at the opticians. You know, which is clearer, A or B? But yeah, it does seem to be another letter there. So when you get too close, you can't actually see it that well. So, which is I think it actually looks better from this distance. Let's just go in a little bit, and you can actually see a bit more detail. There's a letter there, and there's another one there. But it kind of almost looks like two words, or their letters are, what we're seeing are partial letters, and some of it's obscured. Okay. Well, answers on the postcard, guys. Leave a comment below. Really don't know what to make out of that entirely. But what I will show you now, whilst we're on the subject, I've got a couple of other things here up ready for you. So credit to Neville Thompson for this find. This may turn out to be really important. And 1877, the song 1877 is really cool and has really captured my imagination. So yes, we have this example here that was actually discovered, I think, by Monty Williams a few years back and published on his channel, so check his channel out. He's got a very entertaining channel actually now, so I'll give him a shout out because he early on did quite a lot of work on Mars and found some interesting things. He's moved more into other types of videos now, but they are very funny, a lot of them, so do check out Monty Williams. A cool guy, and I often have spoke with him in the past. But this was interesting. Now, this is very small lettering, but we also have numbers here, okay? Now, this video is called Numbers and Letters on Mars Rock, and I put that out in 2015. I will put a link to it at the end of this video, so you can click straight to it if you wish. But this is kind of a squarish looking rock with something written on it, and you can see like a 7 and like a 4 and a 6 and a Y, and what looks like a T and an R. Now it may not be, this could be an F and an R, but yeah, as usual, if you get in too close, it doesn't look very sharp, but I've tried to clear it up a bit there. So that almost looks like try 647 or now I did have a discussion about this from someone from NASA. So a person from NASA actually contacted me via email, and I was discussing this with her, and she said that 647 apparently is one of the buildings. One of the buildings at JPL is called 647, or one of the buildings they used. Now, whether that's a coincidence or not, I don't know. There may be nothing to that, but this could be an example of someone at JPL playing a joke on us and actually writing letters on the rock in an image to see if anyone notices and see if it actually anyone's taken any notice of these images properly and scanning them properly, like we are, of course, especially people from UFA, United Family of Anomaly Hunters, people like Neville Thompson and Martin Graney and Chris Moroney, people, and myself, of course, and many others. We do scan these images very carefully every day, and between us, we kind of have got it covered pretty well, I think. And but this is an example of something which is very small and is not that clear, and if you get too close. But that's kind of the best distance to look at it from. You can just about make that out. So credit to Monty Williams for that one. And there was this one which I discovered, and this I think may be a coffin, almost an ancient style kind of stone coffin with a lid. And there are other lids in this area. If you go back to the videos I did back in 2015, there are quite a few examples of coffins and coffin lids and boxes, and they're stone boxes. And this doesn't look anything like the sort of lettering that you would see previously in the other two images I showed you. This looks more like some kind of very alien looking text, if it is text. It may not be, but when you just flip it to negative there, you can kind of see what looks like some kind of glyphs on the side of this box here, this stone box. But it may not be, of course. It may be, may have had some sort of gold picture on the side of it, embossed on the side of it or something, and some of it may have come off. So that may be an example of just deposits of metal on this rock. But there does seem to be like a carved figure at the end of this coffin, just here, like a little cherubim kind of thing, like you would see a bit like on the Ark of the Covenant. the ark. You know, those cherubim, little angels, you know, and you get on the end. Very odd. It's got like a little head there and an eye and a nose, but very blurry. But as with a lot of these things, I think they are deliberately blurred out, and hard to say either way. But when you see it from further back, you can kind of see a bit more definition there. Okay. All I've done there is enhance the contrast. That's the raw clip. It's actually quite clear. But that may not be writing at all. That just may be some kind of gold deposit there, or some other metallic element that's in the rock anyway. There is a lot of it around, and it could be completely natural. But to me, that kind of looks like a coffin. And when you compare it to some on Earth, like I've done in this video, you may agree that it's similar. This is a post-Roman coffin, I think, found in the UK. Thousands of years old, you know. So who knows? Is that lettering? This certainly looks like lettering, although it's very small. And the stuff we're looking at today, in Seoul 1877, really does look like lettering, and it's big. Way, way bigger than the other stuff I just showed you. That, now, it's very deceptive. It doesn't look like that's that far away, but of course, the camera is zoomed in quite a long way. I'd say up to almost a kilometre into the background. So it doesn't look that big, but I'm guessing it's about 5 or 10 feet, possibly 15 feet tall, this lettering, possibly even taller. Until I get an exact distance, I won't know. And I'm hoping that Nev T will reply to my question earlier and give me his opinion. And between us, I'm sure we will get a more accurate idea of how tall it is. So that was pretty much it. I'll put more clips of everything back in at the end, coming up in about 30 seconds. So thanks for watching, everybody. Please leave your comments below and tell me what you think this says. If you can, I mean, some of you may think it could be a different language. I don't know. Is it possible that some of our languages and writing came from Mars, or the other way round? Could we have exported some of it to Mars? Is that possible? Anything's possible in my book. Don't rule anything out, because, as I always say, when looking at images from other planets, an open mind is required, because one day our very survival may depend on it. Okay, so credit to Nev T again. Thanks for watching, everybody. Please give the thumbs up and share on social media if you can. See you soon.